I was sat on a friend's balcony on the edge of the city of Manchester as the early March evening approached, when I noticed a building that I'd never seen before. It immediately seemed out of place, and there was something not quite right about it. A closer look revealed a whole fake top floor, so I took a trip over there to investigate. By the time I arrived, the darkness had settled in, and the building with its shuttered doors and secured windows was locked and sealed, but with lights on inside. I thought it was probably best to come back tomorrow. Approaching the building that lies on the edge of Brentwood Street and Stacott Street in Moss Side, the false top story looked even more apparent the following day. Before we look more closely at this interesting and evident later addition to the building, let's look at a bit of history. This is Moss Side Telephone Exchange. It's part of the Manchester group of 44 exchanges. It was built in 1925 and was classified as an automatic telephone exchange. The first UK public automatic exchange was brought into service in Epsom, Surrey in May 1912. It allowed subscribers to dial the local number themselves rather than asking an operator to connect them manually. A permanent junction telephone service was established between Liverpool and Manchester in 1914. In 1922, the practice of using the first three letters of an exchange name was introduced in London, Manchester and Birmingham in preparation for automatic dialling. As the number of subscribers and exchanges increased in Manchester and the surrounding areas, new names were needed for exchanges. Prior to all figure numbers, the exchange name was MOS for Moss Side. By 1924, there were over 250,000 lines connected to more than 40 automatic exchanges across the UK. The main problem in large cities was directing a call over a complex series of interlinking circuits. The first fully automatic system in a large urban area was under an advanced form of the Stroger concept, which enabled one exchange to be connected automatically to another. Called the Director Telephone System, it was first tested on a large scale in London's Holborn Tandem Exchange in 1927. The concept was predicted to be effective for many major built-up areas, and the first three exchanges outside London to be put onto the automatic dialer system were Ardwick, Collyhurst and Moss Side, all in Manchester. This took place during 1930. The exchanges covering the city centre and some suburbs within a 7.5-mile radius were gradually converted to the same system over the next few years. The automation process meant that a large number of mainly female telephone operators in the Manchester exchanges became redundant, a crisis that was mentioned in Parliament in 1933. The telephone codes currently used at Moss Side include 0161226, 0161227 and 0161232. It was enabled for ADSL in March 2000, ADSL Max in March 2006, and is 21CN WBC or 21st Century Network Wholesale Broadband Connect enabled and provides fibre services. The exchange has doors and windows on all sides, but they're all secured with metal cages and shutters, and the glass is frosted or rippled to obscure the view inside. You can see lights inside, and the sun glows nicely through the side during the early spring evening. The exchange contains a mainframe distributor, which is where all copper telephone lines terminate. There are also line cards which can hold different numbers of subscribers. There's fuses and links, System X equipment, and tons of other stuff I'm not even going to pretend to be an expert on. The exchange lies within a small gated compound which is secured by barbed wire and high brick walls. It was built on the site of some long demolished terraced houses and shared the tip of a strip of land between what was Sowerby and Darncombe Street. Today these are called Brentwood and Stacott Street. Brentwood Street lies on the original path of Sowerby Street, but Darncombe Street is technically gone. You can see the entrance to it here today. Look at the curb on the right hand side. Note the same curved curb on the corner in this image from June 1973. At this point we're well into the clearance of rows of terraced houses that filled the area. In 1972 the area was experiencing the so-called slum clearances, streets of old Victorian terraced housing being demolished and communities dispersed. Take a look at the wall on the right of the image. It's interesting in itself. It's still here today, but it did form part of another property that backed onto the exchange. The wall is the original facade of what was a picture theatre and hall. Later on it was used by the Salvation Army. The wall was retained as the perimeter of the telephone exchange. With the terraced houses long gone, new housing has filled the area, leaving the old telephone exchange somewhat out of place. So let's look at this false top floor. We can see rows of fake brick facade, which is made of fiberglass panels with no roof. This is because it hides a cell site. There are around a dozen cellular antennas on the top of the roof, along with all of the supporting transceiver equipment to provide mobile phone services to the area. I wondered why they'd covered these up when there's another larger building nearby with no attempt made to disguise the antennas. Well, this whole facade appeared sometime between April and August 2003, at a time when mobile telephone networks were expanding rapidly, much to the upset of the public. Attempts were made to disguise these mobile phone masts so as to alleviate public concern and protect local views. I can only assume that the proximity of houses to the telephone exchange and proposed cell site caused enough concern that the operators decided to cover it up. It's also worth noting that cellular antennas appeared on this building in 1999, 4 years before the brick facade. It may have also been done to protect the look of the 100-year-old architecture. All of the networks operate from up here: O2, 3, EE and Vodafone. Most of the equipment is O2, and you can see that the rooftop is absolutely packed with it. There's also a couple of microwave links passing traffic to and from other sites. My guess is that this rooftop array is feeding smaller street poles further out. One of them certainly points towards Paragon, a residential block 1.1 miles to the west. These two little mushroom antennas are GPS for timing. Coaxial feeders and power pass into this equipment cabin and also down a conduit on the rear of the building. The brick facade is made of fiberglass or something similar, which allows signals to radiate from the antennas nicely without causing any blocking or interference. They're held together by a metal frame, but the antennas sit between this framework. The windows, of course, are just decorative, and the panels aren't glass, but rather painted on in black. So that's Moss Side Automatic Telephone Exchange, and now you know what the fake top floor facade is hiding.